Hello, everybody, and welcome to my Week 5 power rankings. Of course, these are my power rankings for Week 5 after the results of Week 4 of the NFL season. Very fun week. We had a lot of really good games, especially that 1 o'clock slate. We had a good Sunday night football game. And overall, it was a pretty solid week. We have a lot of big movers, especially within the bottom 32 to 17. Not a lot of ton of movers within the top 10. Looking to get this video hopefully in 20, 30 minutes. Today's been a rough day for me. I've had a lot of stuff to do, and I got a lot of stuff to do tomorrow too. Obviously, this video is coming out on Wednesday. And big news, guys. We just hit 1,000 subscribers, so thank you guys very much for it. Thank you guys so much for 1,000 subscribers. I'm going to hopefully make my 1K special very soon. It'll be within an upcoming week or so. And I'm also going to be giving you guys an update for my 2024 NFL Big Board for the 2024 NFL Draft, and I'll likely give a mock draft within the next couple of weeks as well. So big things coming on the channel soon, and I'll see you guys there. But in this video, I'm gonna be breaking down, of course, my Week 5 power rankings, and let's go from there. So the first thing is going to be the Chicago Bears. Obviously, the Chicago Bears are 0-4, lost a humongous game, the tank bowl of them all. Against the Denver Broncos, who move up only one slightly. You know, it's kind of over for Matt Eberflus. I don't know why you couldn't kick that field goal on 4th and 1 when Justin Fields was balling out, probably having his best game of his career. It seems like they're going to be rebuilding and blowing it up next year. Hopefully they win a few games, man, this year. I was really hoping for that breakout season from Justin Fields. And then moving on to the Carolina Panthers, again, it's just not looking great for them either. The offense under Bryce Young is super sluggish, man. Nothing is really going. The pressure is getting too quickly to Bryce Young. The poise isn't quite as it used to be. He can't target the middle of the field the same like he did at Alabama. It's looking rough. And then compared to the other quarterbacks that are doing so well in this class, I mean, guys like Anthony Richardson, who's the 4th overall pick, he just drafted with the 2nd overall pick, doing so well. Carolina looks like they made a draft mistake, but obviously it's 4 weeks in. It's too early. It's too early to judge. So we're just gonna leave it at that. Leave them at 31 for now. Unfortunately, the Denver Broncos, another. I would say that they had a terrible week, to be honest. I know that they won that game, but they really shouldn't. And the Denver Broncos defense looks disgustingly horrible. I mean, you come off of one of the best secondaries in the league last year and a good pass rushing unit to a unit that just, is Swiss cheese. I've been using Swiss cheese a whole lot this year to describe some of these secondaries in the NFL. I mean, the Denver Broncos are one of them, and you have Pat Surtain too. You have a good cornerback unit. But I mean, hopefully their defense steps up because their offense is looking a lot better under Sean Payton. But really under Sean Payton, I mean, nothing really changed after Nathaniel Hackett except, the defense got worse. The offense got a little better, but the defense got so much worse. And you're pretty much in the same position 1-3. I mean, last year you were, I think, 1-3 as well coming into this spot. I think it's still looking rough for the Denver Broncos right now. I don't know whether they get better, a bigger boost down the stretch of the season, but they're not looking great right now. The Las Vegas Raiders are in a similar situation. Josh McDaniels, I think, needs to go. I mean, they had to start Aiden O'Connell, and that did not work. He got murdered all day because the offensive line is just super terrible. Devontae Adams got hurt in that game too with a shoulder injury. We'll have to see whether he comes back next week as well. Nothing's looking great for the Raiders. They should be 100% entering the rebuild phase pretty much now and start with a new head coach and likely GM. I mean, nothing's really going to change under the ownership with the Davis family, but they're in a tough situation as well. And now I'm getting to the spot where I've killed essentially 3 teams. The New York Giants, the Patriots, the Steelers, and the Vikings. All teams that have been super disappointing throughout the most of the year. The Patriots did win a game against the Jets, of course. But I'm going to start with the New York Giants. Unfortunately, they are looking like a bottom 5 team, bottom 6 team in the league. I mean, the offensive line is just too battered. It's too injured. Daniel Jones is having a bad year. Saquon Barkley's out with injury. The defense can only hold up for so long. I mean, they've faced tough opponents like the 49ers, the Seahawks. But they didn't look great against the Cardinals either. It's just been a tough season for them, and it will not get better because their schedule upcoming is just such a murderer's row. I mean, they've got the Dolphins next, and they got the Eagles upcoming soon as well. And then, they got the Commanders soon as well, and the Commanders look good right now. So they've got a murderer's row. It's not going to get any better. and I don't know where they're going to finish right now. I had them as a sneaky playoff team, but with this offensive line and the injuries that they're accruing, it's not looking great as of right now. And the New England Patriots, I think it's a similar issue too, and I'm dropping them heavily this week. Obviously, they're the biggest losers of the week in my opinion. Mac Jones was benched, multiple defensive touchdowns allowed. You have Matthew Judon who tore a part of his bicep. You have Christian Gonzalez who has a shoulder, a separated shoulder after the game. So your two key defensive players are out now. The defense was the best part of their entire roster, and the offenses just look terrible. Even under Bill O'Brien, nothing has just like gotten up for them outside of the Dolphins game where they played pretty well. But I'll get to the Dolphins later. Their defense is a big problem for that team. They could be a championship contender if they really get their defense solved. But the Patriots are not looking great. I mean, and I don't know where they go from this now either, because, who is going to be, Mac Jones is going to start for the rest of the season. Cool. Against good defenses, he doesn't look great. And he does force a lot of things and make quite a few mistakes for a year 3 quarterback. Obviously, he's been put in under 3 offensive system, which is tough for him. But moving on to the Steelers, they're in a similar battle as well. Their defense is up here, and then their offense is like super down here. Listen, this Steelers offense under Matt Canada is extremely predictable, and that's really unfortunate because they do have a good amount of offensive talent, especially like guys like Najee Harris, first round pick, George Pickens, really good player, Pat Freiermuth, Kenny Pickett. But I mean, Kenny Pickett, I said this in the offseason. I don't think he is a top level quarterback. I don't think he quite has arm talent. I don't think he quite has the poise or the size to be a NFL level, elite level player. And it's kind of tough with his situation because the line gets demolished by defensive linemen pretty instantly, and the offensive play calling is terrible under Matt Canada. And then their defense kind of got picked apart by the Houston Texans today because their secondary is so rough. It's not looking great for the Steelers for the rest of the year. However, I do think that they are going to win a lot of close games because their defense is just that. It's just a good defense. I mean, with TJ Watt, he'll probably have another like 15+ sack season. They've got a good interior as well. I think the Steelers end up with a bunch of wins, but I don't know if that's the best case scenario for their team because it's not looking great, especially offensively. And then moving on to the Minnesota Vikings. Tough week for them, or a good week for them because they won a game. However, it was against the Carolina Panthers. Overall, it didn't look like they were going to win either way. I mean, a 99-yard pick six in the beginning of the game was not a good sign from the start. I don't know how long Kirk Cousins has in Minnesota. Maybe he's a trade deadline acquisition for some teams. Maybe like the Jets or a team that really needs a quarterback. Maybe like the Falcons. I mean, but Justin Jefferson, 2-touchdown game, he's awesome. The offense, they score a lot, they get a lot of yards, but the defense is still really tough. And I mean, they're kind of in a tough position being 1-3. I know they did win a game, but I am dropping them a lot because purely just the fact that a lot of teams looked a lot better than the Minnesota Vikings and probably have a better future outlook. So even though they do drop 5, I probably should have dropped them earlier. But I didn't. But some of these teams now have proven to me why they should be above the Vikings now. Moving on to the Cardinals. The Cardinals, even though they did lose against the 49ers, tough game. They're going to lose that one regardless. They're still a good offense. They still score a lot. And they still move the ball really efficiently, especially on the ground. James Conner's doing well. Joshua Dobbs, who knew that he was going to be a pretty plus quarterback in the league. And yeah, the defense is it's tough. It's a 49ers offense. I'm not going to blame you for that loss. They're 4-0 for a reason, but they've proven to me that they're pretty much a much better offensive system than the rest of the guys below them, except the Vikings. But they've got better defense and maybe even better, maybe even a better efficient offense. Even though that's maybe not true. But the Cardinals' offense is moving, and they move pretty well, and they convert on third downs. New Orleans Saints -2. I've been saying this for a while now. Still don't get the Derek Carr signing. I mean, he threw it 13 times to Alvin Kamara in the backfield for like 33 yards. I don't know whether it's scheme or whether it's because they're not that good. Chris Olave almost had a touchdown as well, but they got bashed. They got beaten pretty badly. So I'm gonna move them down by 4. The Tennessee Titans. They're a team that I'm so flip-flop with them. I had them 28th last week. Now I have them back at 22. It's either one game they look horrible, and then one game they look good. Maybe it's because of the opponent they face in the Bengals, who are having such a rough start to the season, or maybe it's because they just have good games and they have bad games. Derrick Henry had a much better game this game than last game. The Titans offense, when they get the ground game working, they're a good team. When they don't get the ground game working, they aren't a good team. The defense was swarming Joe Burrow all game, which is very positive. The defensive line was doing really well. They were sending a lot of pressure. Overall, good game. I'm going to move them up by 6. New York Jets, I'm not going to kill them for a loss against the Chiefs. They're the Chiefs. They're obviously a really good team, and they put up a really good fight. Zach Wilson had his best game of his career, had the most amount of completions ever. Listen, the ref job, the Taylor Swift stuff, I get it. I get why the outcome was the result. I'm not stupid. I know that games can be rigged, but I'm not even gonna get into that because I'm gonna catch some heat in the comments if I call into the question the integrity of some of these refs and the league. But what can you do? You got to know the outcome. You got to know the situation of these games. But on the field, obviously the Jets had opportunities to win, but the result is the result. But I'm not gonna kill them for almost barely beating the Chiefs. Because the Chiefs are the Chiefs. They're the best team in the AFC, and what can you do but just play competitive against them? Washington Commanders, I'm moving them up a ton. They played really well against the Eagles, and they've looked pretty good. They've looked really competitive throughout the majority of the season, especially not against the Bills, but against the Eagles. They've looked really good, and the Broncos, they looked good offensively. Sam Howell looks like he probably gets another year under his belt at quarterback. Eric Bieniemy's system, it does work. It gets a lot of guys open in space. That receiver core is really good, especially led under Terry McLaurin. And the defense at some times was looking good against Jalen Hurts as well. They were stopping the ground game, which I think was key in the game. But then obviously A.J. Brown went off for 2 touchdowns. That's hard to stop. Again, I'm not going to kill you for a loss against the Eagles. I actually moved them up, even though they lost big time. I moved them up huge. The Indianapolis Colts, another team that I moved up huge, even though they had a loss. Anthony Richardson looks legit. He looks phenomenal on the ground. He looks like it's either you put Cam Newton back in the NFL as a rookie, or you just put a bigger Jalen Hurts. More like Cam Newton. That was my player comp for my prospect breakdown. If you can go watch that on my channel. For reference, but it's like if you put Cam Newton back in his rookie season, maybe not as dominant, but he's got seven touchdowns, 4 on the air, 1 interception, and no 3 in the air, 1 interception, and then 4 touchdowns on the ground. Anthony Richardson looks really well, and the accuracy, I don't think it's all still there, but again, we already knew this. The accuracy wasn't going to be great, but some of those throws, man, some of the throws that he was making was really good, especially like that Joshua Downs throw through the middle of the field. That was a dart. The Colts the Colts defense was looking good. They were playing competitive in the second half versus the Rams. They look like a very good team. The Bengals, I'm killing. They're -7. Offense can't do really anything. I mean, Joe Burrow is still hurt, and the offensive line is just super rough. I don't know what else to say. I mean, they tried to rebuild it. It didn't work. The line sucks. And then the defense got burned on the ground as well. They just had a bad game. I know they're the best 1-3 team, in my opinion, but they haven't played the best. But I think on paper and probably in the future, they should be the best team from that 1-3 bracket. But it's kind of looking rough for them right now. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I'm going to have as the 17th. They're the worst 3-1 team. They haven't really beat anybody too good. I know that they did crush on the Saints. The Saints are in a weird place right now. I know Derek Carr is still hurt from that shoulder injury. But they're a good team. Bringing them up by 6. The offense looks pretty solid under Baker Mayfield. The defense obviously is back up to snuff with Todd Bowles at defensive coordinator. They're, I think, the worst 3-1 team, but I don't think they're a bad team. And I think they have maybe even a shot to make the wild card. Even after losing Tom Brady, the offense is still working good, I guess. When they face tougher opponents, they're, I think, going to regress. But I don't think it's going to be like a super sharp regress. And moving on to the biggest mover of the entire week, which is going to be the Houston Texans. Listen, I love this Houston Texans team. I love the offense, how CJ Stroud is moving the ball. You know, he's putting up Justin Herbert numbers. He still has 0 interceptions. His passer rating is over 100. He's one of the top quarterbacks in the league statistically right now. He's got over 1,000 yards in 4 games. I mean, the Nico Collins is having a humongous breakout year. Tank Dell is playing phenomenal. Dameon Pierce is getting the ground game working. The offensive line was playing very stable against Steelers defensive line. That is a really good defensive line. And then the defense, man, they were swarming Kenny Pickett the entire game. The secondary looks boosted. The Texans under DeMeco Ryan, they're looking good, and I think they were one of the biggest teams that needed a rebuild over the offseason, and I think that they're the first team that's really showed the best signs of a positive rebuild for the future. They've got their franchise quarterback, they've got their franchise edge in Will Anderson, they've got a good receiving core that's young, and that's only going to get better with guys like Nico Collins and Tank Dell. Young running back, young offensive line that's good, and a young head coach who's already proven himself with two big wins to start the season. Do I think they'll make the playoffs or be in the wild card? No, because it's kind of tough for rookie quarterbacks to sustain a lot of success. But if I were to bet any team out of that AFC South the AFC that would be a dark horse, I think the Houston Texans are a big dark horse in the AFC right now, and they look a lot better than I expected. In my record prediction video, I said that they were going to be a good team down in the future, but they've looked a lot better as of recent. They've looked really good so far. Cleveland Browns. I'm not going to kill you guys. No, Nick Chubb is out. Nick Chubb is out, and Deshaun Watson is also out. The DTR rushed them into this game, 3 interceptions. Not going to kill them. I still think that they're a solid team, good defense. It just the injuries caught up to them. Tough matchup. I'm going to leave them at 15. Same thing with the Green Bay Packers. It's a Lions team that's a very tough team. Jordan Love played fine. I know he did have 2 interceptions. A little bit of question marks with his game there, but I mean, I'm not going to kill them for facing a top 10 team. I mean, the Lions are legit. Maybe some people don't think so, but the Lions are a really good team. The Falcons, again, good team facing against the Jaguars. The main concern is Desmond Ridder. Desmond Ridder threw a pick 6 in the game. He does not look good. They are probably going to maybe acquire a quarterback in the midseason mark. And the Los Angeles Rams, then my next 3-1 team, they've looked really solid, especially on the ground. Kyron Williams is like 6 touchdowns already, and the defense is looking good enough. I think that they are a wild card team right now, but I wouldn't expect them to be too much of like a competition within that NFC West, who I think the Seahawks and the 49ers, I think they're still a step ahead of the Rams, who I thought were going to rebuild after this year. But they are getting Cooper Kupp back. That should improve their offense a lot. I still am concerned a little bit about their offensive line. But we're moving on to the Jacksonville Jaguars, who had a much better showing in London. Obviously, that's their second home stadium. And, I mean, Christian Kirk had a much better game. The drops were finally down. The defense was playing a lot better. Overall, just a good, solid win from them. The Chargers, another offensive aerial assault from Justin Herbert, who looks like he could be a potential MVP. He had 400 yards. No, he didn't have 400 yards. But he had another really good showing. Keenan Allen is, even at his age and athletic ability, he's still doing super well. Obviously, a phenomenal route technician. Seattle Seahawks, a good win on Monday Night Football. Obviously, you overpowered the Giants a lot, but the defensive line is the highlight out of this game. You have 10 sacks in that game. You know, that's a good sign to take away. Especially for a defensive line that I had a lot of question marks about in gaining pressure. And then obviously Witherspoon had an pick 6, and he had a sack in that game. Humongous game from the 5th overall pick. The Baltimore Ravens, very good win against the Browns. They are the number 1 team in the AFC North. Lamar Jackson's back to his MVP form, especially on the ground. He had 2 touchdowns there. I think he had 4 total touchdowns in that game. He had a really good game there. The defense looked good against the Browns. They were getting a lot of pressure, forcing interceptions against DTR, the rookie quarterback. The Detroit Lions, the ones I already said this again, really good team, really good win against the Packers. The offense was looking phenomenal outside of the first drive where they threw, outside of the first and second drive of the game. They scored 3 touchdowns after that. David Montgomery had 3 touchdowns on the ground. Obviously, he was the Jamal Williams replacement. Moving on to the Dallas Cowboys, they just murdered the Patriots. The defense is really good, the special teams is really good, and the offense is solid. They're a very solid team. I'm very comfortable with them being my third best team in the NFC right now. Miami Dolphins, I obviously had to meme them to be my number one team in the NFL. They fall a lot because their defense is just unfortunately not legit. I know that the Jalen Ramsey addition was supposed to make them better, and with the Vic Fangio, a defensive coordinator, but they give up 40 points to the Buffalo Bills. Stephon Diggs had a phenomenal game. It's just a secondary, man. Xavier Howard is declining a lot. They really don't have a cornerback two outside of Ramsey. Once it comes back, obviously, I think that the defense should be a lot better. But the offense, again, too. Tua Tagovailoa didn't have his best game. Neither did Jalen Waddle, who was coming back from a concussion. Tyreek Hill was bracketed the majority of the game. So the Dolphins, I still think, are a really good team. I have them at 5, but their defense is the main problem for me. The Buffalo Bills, talked about them just ago. Outside of the loss against the Jets in Week 1, they have not been stopped on offense. They've scored 30-plus points in every single game. This is just what the Bills do. Josh Allen, obviously, is a phenomenal quarterback. He's going to put up a ton of points, and that's what the Buffalo Bills do. And moving the Kansas City Chiefs down by 1, they didn't look great against the Jets. I know that when the Chiefs play good teams, good results happen because, they won the game. Mahomes did seal the game, obviously. But he did have two interceptions in this game. Isaiah Pacheco was, I think, the main contributor on offense. Travis Kelce was bracketed the majority of the game. They had a safety and a linebacker on him. The receiver core, though, is still rough. The majority of Mahomes' offensive output came from tight ends. You had a Noah Gray touchdown. You had 60 yards from Travis Kelce. The receiver core against the Jets secondary was David or Goliath. You got a very iffy young receiving core versus a young but really good secondary, and we saw that what happened. But Chiefs defense obviously didn't have Nick Bolton. Nick Bolton is a key factor in this game. That's why I think the Jets were able to target the middle of the field a lot. But they won the game. It's obviously going to stay at 3, but I think that the 49ers and Eagles have definitively proven that they are the best teams in the NFL. The San Francisco 49ers more than any other team because, Christian McCaffrey already has 7 touchdowns in total. They just look, they haven't been stopped once in anything. No team has destroyed their defense. No team has stopped their offense yet. It's looked too easy for them, and I know that I haven't played anybody super legit yet. Obviously, they played the Cardinals, the Steelers, the Giants. Those are the majority of their wins. But they look really, really good. And the Philadelphia Eagles are another team. I know they haven't played anybody super great either, but nobody's really stopped them. The Commanders put up probably the best fight. But this is such a good team, and when they put on the gas and when they want to win the game, they can definitely do that. But that's going to do it for my Power Rankings video. Obviously, my biggest mover is the Texans. My biggest loser is going to be the Patriots. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. Once again, thank you guys for 1K subscribers. My 1K subscriber special will come out very soon. But that's going to do it for me. I'll see you guys in the next one.